Last time on Wrestling Figure Legacy, we looked at some of the most controversial happenings in the world of wrestling figures. As a quick refresher, there was the Holy Grail Hasbro Moon on Belly Kamala, worth a small fortune. I covered some of the censorship scene in wrestling figures, the origins of the Chinese New Year meme, talked about Hollywood, no brothers allowed, brother Hogan, and last but not least, the switch and bait tactics of Jakks Pacific. So many more juicy and unbelievable stories await in Volume 2 of Wrestling Figure Controversies, so let's dive right back in. The untimely passing of Randy Savage devastated wrestling fans from all generations. He mostly led a private life away from WWE for a variety of internal controversies between he and Vince McMahon. Things changed, however, in 2009 when WWE produced a Randy Savage DVD, sadly without his input. By 2010, Mattel got the master license for WWE toys, and they set their sights immediately on some big names Jakks never got permission to make. Within year one, figures of Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage were on the shelf. At SDCC 2010, Mattel made sure to surprise the world with their announcement of Randy Savage coming back to the world of WWE action figures.
Here's the deal. My defining moments figure commemorates my match against the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 7. Check it out! Check out the details, yeah. Check out the quality. And look at this right now. It exactly looks like me. Not now, but then.
The Mattel design team actually got a chance to visit Randy Savage at his home. This would be the first time Savage participated in a WWE project since his original WWF run. But what was it like to actually talk intimately with the aging and normally inaccessible Macho Man? Bill McKenna, lead WWE designer at Mattel, tells a personal recollection of the evening on a podcast called The Figure Mark. You can hear the full interview in the link in the description, but let's first hear what Bill had to say about his time with Randy Savage.
I got to meet the Macho Man.
Right.
I cut the video that aired at the Comic-Con in 2010 announcing that he was getting an action figure for the first time, and it's like just being in Macho Man's home and like just, you know, at the time he was almost like semi-reclusive, like no one had seen or heard from him in so long. It's like, and I'm sitting in his living room drinking a beer with him.
Right. That's so cool.
And he loved the figure. I mean, just seeing how much he loved the figure, and you know, when it was the first one in so long, and I mean that's just so cool. I mean, I hope everyone at some point in their life gets to have a feeling like that, where like just an appreciation of what you do. I'm extremely lucky that I've been able to have that.
Despite claiming that 2011 was going to be the year of the Macho Man, it would go on to be the final year of his life. On May 20th, 2011, Savage was driving his Jeep with his recently wed wife when he suffered a heart attack, crashing the vehicle. His wife survived with minor injuries, but Randy Poffo lost his life that day, not to the accident, but to heart failure. With a posthumous Hall of Fame induction, no comeback appearance, no sit-down career biography, it's such a shame Randy didn't get to survive to witness the resurgence of his body of work and to enjoy his newlywed years in peace. In regards to his career, Savage had a brief period of time to see himself immortalized once again in video games and action figures. Before his death, Defining Moments 1, Legends Series 5, and the All-Stars 2-pack with John Morrison were all released. Everything after came after he passed away. One has to wonder if there exists any signed Mattel Randy Savage figures. It's entirely possible, though unlikely given his reclusive nature. Let's talk about something a little more upbeat. Mistakes happen, we all misspell something or misspeak from time to time, but sometimes mistakes are either A, easily avoidable, or B, utterly hilarious. Let's start out with this blunder. Looks like a solid Titantron Live era Triple H. It's actually from the early RA era, where they made hybrid sets, but nevertheless, Bring the Noise was a cool one-off series. Nothing seems too out of the ordinary until you zoom straight into Triple H's crotch. It's time to play the Dane. What's a Dane, let alone the Dane? There's 2 letters in a 4-letter word that you got jumbled up. Here's another minor error. I like to go on record and say that this BCA Champions box set is my favorite box set of all time. It embodies my favorite era of wrestling, and it has detailed bell accessories depicting a good representation of 1997. But wait, what is this? The European Champion? It's the one and only release of the European Championship, as the box was later corrected in future shipments. A title is one thing, but what about a person? Here's a good one. This is from the later Backlash series Jax produced once Titantron Live took over. It's a hardcore Holly figure, but that man right there is clearly Crash Holly. There aren't any Crash Holly BCA figures until now. And what about this other BCA figure? It's Jim Ross in his Raw is War blazer. Looks pretty solid, an excellent addition to any announced team, but what's that say? War Tony. It's the Dane all over again, or maybe this is some shot fired at WCW's lead announcer at the time, Tony Schiavone. Interestingly, a totally normal Warzone Jim Ross exists alongside War Tony. This will probably forever be a mystery in wrestling figure lore. Here's one that is quite controversial. Here is Titantron Live Series 11, Stephanie McMahon. The figure represents her bad girl persona very well, maybe a little too well? If you give into the bizarre, unspeakable temptation to look under her blue skirt, you may discover that Stephanie McMahon forgot her panties today. Yes, Jax forgot to paint on panties on a figure primarily bought by teenage boys during the raunchy Attitude Era. This sparked quite a bit of controversy in its day, with conflicting reports about recalls and things of that nature. The only thing I know for certain is that the next time around when they released Stephanie in the pink dress, they made sure to keep her from going commando. Yikes. We can get back into airs later. Did you know an entire wrestling ring was legitimately recalled by the US Consumer Product Safety Commission? WWE's initial action figure line was the 1980s LJN Wrestling Superstar series. The figures were huge and heavy, roughly 8 inches in length, and made of solid rubber. Figures of that proportion need a hefty ring, which is where the fling 'em and sling 'em ring came into play. The problem is, as sturdy as the ring posts were, falling on it could severely hurt anyone, especially a child. Strangely, the ring got recalled in 1991, which is beyond the LJN timeline. LJN was out of the toy business by that point. According to the recall report, 4 very serious injuries were resulted when children ranging from age 6 to 10 years old fell onto the ring. The report goes on to say that the plastic corner post penetrated the child's body cavity, causing severe internal injury. The CPSC offered a solution to parents, suggesting that to prevent additional injuries, they should remove the 4 rigid plastic posts. The report even makes reference to how much of a pain in the ass the posts were to remove, outright stating, and I quote, "Consumers may have to break the posts to remove them." In an offbeat turn of events, LJN, or whomever had the rights to the molds, sold off the ring to Jakks Pacific, who'd go on to produce the WWF Monster Ring in the later 90s without a hitch. They did add rounded caps to the turnbuckle posts, and that seems to have been enough to allow them to release multiple iterations of this ring. You know, I can't help but feel bad for the poor kid that, by the sounds of it, got one of those posts lodged into his rectum. And that ring really was a pain in the ass. One of the more well-known controversies in wrestling figure history actually got made into a storyline on WWF programming. As a refresher, in the Attitude Era, Al Snow used to carry around a mannequin head named Head. He'd talk to Head, he'd get advice from Head, he'd argue with Head, and he made sure that everyone wanted Head. Notwithstanding the sexual innuendo of the slogan, Al Snow was actually one of the tamest acts of the day. Despite this, true controversy struck when an assistant professor at Kennesaw State University expressed outrage at the figure, citing that its decapitated woman's head promoted violence against women. Word spread, and Walmart specifically pulled the Road Rage 99 Al Snow seen here from the shelves. Some stores were pulling any Al Snow with head off the shelves, but it's the Road Rage 99 one in particular that got recalled. So just to play devil's advocate, it is a crazed man with the words "help me" written backwards on his forehead, and he has a female Barbie-like head with "help me" also written on her forehead. He has a runaway suitcase where the head is probably stored, and the set is called Road Rage. So if I were an out-of-touch parent, I'd do a double take too if my kid brought that home instead of Spider-Man. But to complain and legitimately try to get it pulled from the shelves, even after learning it's supposed to be a mannequin head, and Al Snow is a goofball character, that's pretty dumb for an aspiring communications professor, no? WWE loved controversy during this era, whether it was the harping from the parents' television console or conservative mothers gathering in seance to burn all the Al Snow figures. So they did what they did best. They made it into a storyline. Hardcore Holly took the stage, and on live television during the Monday Night War, proceeded to talk about how he hated Al Snow because his Hardcore Holly doll was packed with his stupid Al Snow doll.
Walmart has pulled my dolls off their shelf. All my Hardcore Holly fans out there are gonna have the worst Christmas of their lives.
A legitimate feud was heated up over wrestling figures. The commentators spent the next week or two making light of the controversy, criticizing Walmart and making sure people knew that they wouldn't buckle at the slightest hint of social justice badgering. Business-related social economics have certainly changed. Jakks decided to play it safe with their classic Superstars version of Al Snow, giving him a plain white mannequin head to provide proper disambiguation from decapitated women and faceless Sears models. There's more censorship in the world of wrestling figures, but what about inverse censorship? As in, a complete lack of censorship. That's exactly what happened with the RA-style John Cena figure based on SummerSlam 2005. The series was Road to WrestleMania 22, and it had John Cena in an olive drab shirt and jean shorts. Let's cruise down that road further to get a good look at Johnny Boy. Oh, would you look at that? The word ass on an action figure exclusive to Toys R Us. We can't get a damn Ron Simmons, but this one flew under the radar somehow. Remember Jeff Jarrett's makeover over the summer of 1998? He traded in his good old boy country rock star persona, ditched Tennessee Lee, lost the long locks and strapped singlet, and became the edgier, no-nonsense Double J Jeff Jarrett. His new catchphrase was pretty straightforward: "Don't piss me off." When Jakks were able to catch up on this new gimmick the following year, they had to make a few adjustments. "Don't tick me off." It gets the point across in a more kid-friendly way, I suppose. At the very least, it has the same syllables and sounds like the real thing. It's a heck of a lot better than what they put on the guitar of his Shotgun Saturday Night Series 2 figure. "Don't make me mad," says Jeff Jarrett's guitar. It reads off more like a poor translation than some cheap knockoff toy. You know what? I am kinda mad. What are you gonna do about it, Jeff? Let's take a look at the original San Francisco toy maker's ECW Just Incredible prototype. ECW in action figures. I can't imagine the approval process for that line. Credible's proto has the Got Milk parody shirt, Got Blood. He wore that outfit quite a bit in ECW, so what changed? They just went for a safe ECW red barbed wire shirt instead. Was it the blood reference that scared them away, or was it getting sued by the milk people? Hey, there's another bald guy with a goatee with an attitude to boot. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he's not back to unleash hell, but to unleash Austin. Which is kind of apropos now that his modern day podcast is called Steve Austin Unleashed. Here's another form of light censorship. Remember when Stone Cold called for SmackDown soda in his post-match celebration? Oh hell yeah! McMahon swimming in a cola bath. Here's one of the more obvious censored action figures. It's Chris Jericho in his "Would you please shut the heck up" t-shirt. It's peculiar that they'd even bother including a swear word shirt with him in his wrestling gear. Here are the other halves of DX, Triple H, and X-Pac. Jakks had a pretty decent way to censor the extremely popular DX jersey of the era. They didn't like putting Suck It front and center on a children's toy, so they just put Degenerate on the figures seen on the jersey. And on the back, instead of 69, which is a sexual reference, they just put DX in the same block letters seen on the front. Double Slam 5 Triple H and a few different X-Pacs had the same idea in mind. It makes you wish they would have made Billy Gunn and Road Dogg like this too. Oh yeah, speaking of Road Dogg, they actually made one with Suck It, albeit censored, on the back. It's from the Fully Loaded series. And last but not least, here's an Undertaker figure that looks fairly normal until you realize what his shirt actually says. Destruction Inc. Is that a Metallica album? Is that the people that remodeled the Dead Man's dining room? Dead Man Inc. was deemed to be too inappropriate, so Jakks actually had to change several Undertaker figures to not have the words Dead Man. The Destruction tagline comes from his Decade of Destruction t-shirt of the time. But still, Dead Man Inc.? Dead Man is too risque? Even Linda McMahon couldn't escape the scripted television drama of her real-life family. The first known attempt at a Linda McMahon action figure was the McMahon Family 4-pack. It was to include Shane, Vince, Stephanie, and the long-awaited Linda McMahon as its selling point. The set was on and off for a while before news just dried up. However, Jakks released promotional images for their ring gear accessory line that incorporated the Linda prototype. The set was called Linda McMahon's Revenge, which was to include a wheelchair to recreate everyone's favorite on-screen affair. In later years, WWE Magazine published a source photo of the set, though they did not embellish as to why Linda was cancelled. The Linda prototype found its way onto auction sites where it was said to be sold for around $80, quite a bargain given this figure's legacy. Jakks attempted to release this figure yet again in the fall of 2003 with the now defunct All Cool Gifts. Both Linda and later Mr. America were planned to be released, and both were cancelled. It's unclear if ACG ever got prototype images of Linda, but over the years I have personally heard that Mr. America was shown privately. If true, that sounds like something a little old channel called Wrestling Figure Legacy should probably see. This was not the final attempt at getting the now elusive Linda McMahon figure. Jakks, as perseverant as ever, made one last attempt at getting Linda into their wrestling figure repertoire. A rumored list leaked with Linda in Classic Superstars Series 23. Around Toy Fair 2008, Linda was officially positioned in CS24, one series later, and into early 2009. As the series inched closer and closer to release, we got the news on January 22nd, 2009, that precise, that Linda got pulled from the lineup. On January 30th, 2009, prototype images for CS24 were released. That's only 8 days notice. You better believe there are CS Linda McMahon proto images collecting digital dust on some hard drive on some computer. Any physical ones were likely destroyed to prevent Linda from leaking once again. So why did she keep canceling her figures? The first several times were rumored to be because she felt like she looked too old in the face, and another was that she felt uncomfortable about what kids would do with her figures. The last time though was likely different, as Linda was preparing to run for Senate in 2010. She announced her intentions on running later in 2009. Linda's ties to pro wrestling wound up being a controversial part of her campaign, and having her modern day action figures could have shown off how directly tied she was to the product. That, or maybe Jakks screwed the pooch and just gave her Kelly's body. Nobody knows for sure, and nobody will ever expect a Linda McMahon figure ever again. Prove us wrong, Mattel. Update. This couldn't possibly have come at a better time. Literally, while editing this very episode of WFL, some of the aforementioned Linda McMahon mysteries were solved. In July of 2017, WF user BHG738 unveiled a long-lost Linda McMahon resin prototype in an outfit that differed from the gray floral one we had seen before. Its exact placement is unclear, though this could have been one of the cancelled McMahon Family 4-packs or possibly the All Cool Gives exclusive. The one certainty is that it is definitely not the scrapped Classic Superstars figure. Now, how do I know that? Well, I have a special surprise for everybody watching. An anonymous source of mine generously provided Wrestling Figure Legacy with a never-before-seen prototype picture of the cancelled CS24 Linda McMahon. This has literally never been seen publicly until this very video. Are you ready? Remember when I said they probably just used Kelly's body? Well, slap me silly and call me Nostradamus, they literally used 22-year-old Kelly's body on a 60-year-old woman. Her belly button, the bra mold, they're all still visible under what I guess was supposed to be a sports coat. The saving grace of this prototype is the new head mold, which differed from the Titantron Live one. It's a dead ringer likeness that gives the figure so much needed personality. Though she shall forever join the rest of the Linda McMahon Purgatory series, at the very least we've seen what could have been.
Here we go!
So what else is there to cover? Will there be a volume 3 of Wrestling Figure Controversies? Of course! Next time we'll take a look at the elusive, elite, and unreleased basic Jeff Hardy, a racially insensitive Ahmed Johnson, a few internet exclusive figures so terribly botched that companies had to tamper with, and in one case outright destroy the packaging to release them, and so much more. Some of the most unbelievable happenings await in the 3rd volume of Wrestling Figure Controversies.